You know, the 2DS is probably still one of the best values in video games right now. I mean, it's about the same price as a lot of digital deluxe versions, and generally about 20 bucks cheaper than a lot of special editions out on the market now. And it's a full system with a massive library, and most times for 80 bucks you can even get it with the game. This one happens to come with New Super Mario Bros. 2. And it's an interesting case with Nintendo because this also shows us that you really can't rule anything out with Nintendo. When I say anything, I mean anything. Even if they have to get rid of the core concept of a system or a handheld, they'll do it to save money. And the 2DS is pretty much built completely around making it as cheap as possible. So I figured today we'd open it up, take a look at it, and see how they're saving money, because one of the biggest ways they're saving money is actually staring at you right in the face every time you turn the thing on. I guess we're gonna unbox it first, I guess. It's been a while since I've actually opened up a 2DS. This thing came out 5 years ago, just about in October. So this October, this will have been out for 5 years. Isn't that crazy to think about? I remember when this thing launched. It launched at $130, and since then it's come all the way down to $80. And it has the full 3DS library, of course, at its disposal, minus a few games, because there's a few games that only work with the new 3DS XL and new 2DS XL. I know there's like Minecraft is one, and then there's a few others as well, Xenoblade, I believe. But for the most part, it's 80 bucks, and it actually comes with a charger, something that the new 3DS XL does not do, which probably makes the new 2DS XL probably the best value if you want to play everything at the best performance level, because that actually comes with a charger and it actually comes with an SD card also. But this is a pretty straightforward unboxing, mostly because that's it. I took the charger out, I took some AR cards out and manual, and here we are with the system. Now, I ended up with the new Super Mario Bros. 2 package, and they also have, I believe, a Mario Kart one out now. I think I like the Mario Kart one a little more. This is like a white and red, whereas the Mario Kart, I believe, is like a blue. And I kind of like the way that one looks. This is just what they had at the store. And it does also come with a 4GB old school looking Toshiba SDHC card. So it does come with that as well, which is nice. I know the new 2DS XL also comes with that. I'll actually leave that out, because if we're taking it apart, I don't need that in there. And a stylus, something that whenever I would see this come in for trade-in, it never had a stylus with it. I think the kids would always lose a stylus. But the 2DS XL is interesting for a few reasons, and we're going to go over those today as we take this guy apart. Now, I haven't even turned it on. I assume it worked because it's brand new, but you never know. I guess we'll turn it on and double check. Now, the reason I say that this system right here tells us we can't ever count anything out for Nintendo is because the core concept of the 3DS was the 3D. And when they released this, to, trust me when I say this, a lot of head turning, it did not have the 3D, which was very weird at the time, but the price, it made sense, right? It made sense because of the price. So when we hear about the Switch and people come up with crazy ideas of what Nintendo could do in the Switch family, if it doesn't switch, well, I mean, this doesn't do 3D. They changed the entire name, so who knows? So everything looks good there. I guess we're going to start taking it apart. I'm also going to give you guys kind of like a overhead view when we get a little further in, because the backing is pretty straightforward. It's not a difficult system to get started with, but when you get into it, you start seeing how they saved money, and it does become a little more difficult to get in. I'll say that. I mean, the top comes off with screws that don't even come out completely, and they're smaller Phillips head, and that's how you get to the battery. So it's pretty straightforward to get to the battery. It's like the first thing that comes out. And then from there, we actually have to start pulling screws out. The back comes off, and then we can kind of start getting into some of the stuff inside. There's one part that I feel like has kind of got around the internet now with the screen, but I'm sure there are people who are curious about different parts of it, because if you have not been around and kind of heard about this screen, you might be a little surprised as to how they got to this point. Like, we look at the front and it's two screens, but what if it's not two screens? We'll say that. We're gonna get this apart and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. All right, so guys, I got you guys over top here so we can check it out. Now, immediately, as you can see, it's starting to already fall apart on me. Immediately when we get the screws out of the back, this is one of the most annoying things when I worked on this back in the day. These parts just start falling out. Like, they're just kind of held in with the shell, and these are most of the sides. And then you also have, as you can see right away, a ribbon cable that's kind of clipped onto the back. And that's actually, as you can see here, for the cameras. And it does have technically stereoscopic cameras despite not being a 3D system. And that's just because you could technically transfer the pictures to a system that would be able to view them in 3D. Of course, a 3DS or a 3DS XL or anything like that. That's kind of how that would work. The shoulder buttons are actually not even, the other ones will be like ribbon cables. These are pretty much just part of the board. The way Nintendo decided to do this, and it makes a lot of sense, is to pretty much have everything on one printable circuit board. It made a lot of sense. That's how you got a little cheaper. Whereas with other ones, not only do we have ribbon cables going everywhere, but we have multiple boards. There's a lot of other things happening in the 3DS and the 3DS XL. The new 3DS XL is a mess of cables and ribbon cables. It's a whole thing. Whereas this is a bit more straightforward, and they just have a ton of screws pretty much bolting down this one circuit board. Now we're going to pull this circuit board out by going around and grabbing all these screws, and I really want to show you guys the screen because that is the most obvious place where they saved money, and some people might actually find it funny or even like hilarious how they did it, but I thought it'd be really fun to take a look at it in depth and see how they saved money with it. Here's something that I've always liked about the 3DS brand, the line, all the way up and down the line there. 3DS XL, 2DS XL, even the new one. The joystick, or the little stick that you use, is replaceable. You can change the whole thing out, so I would always see people who would come in and they have like gunk and it'd be all nasty and everything. That's actually a very cheap part, and it's not terribly difficult to replace. I'd say it's like medium difficulty, because you have to line up, of course, the stick and everything and place it down here. Medium difficulty is what I would say for that. It's not overly difficult, but it's certainly not the easiest thing in the world to replace. Now, the 2DS did have a single speaker, whereas the 3DS, 3DS XL and everything have stereo speakers, but you can still get stereo sound out of the headphone jack down here. Now, I've taken out all the screws. You can see the board is pretty much free floating at this point, but it has several ribbon cables down here that are pretty much anchoring it down. This obviously right here is for the LCD that's directly behind it. And then we have several ones down here. I believe we have one for the microphone, or the home button, I think is that one's for. Yeah, that's the home button. And then we should have one down there. That will actually be for the touchscreen on the bottom, because there are some people who are probably wondering how the touchscreen works when we're technically dealing with one screen. Okay, so all of the cables and everything are unplugged, and it does lift right off, and you can see how bare the back is. And then we also have our, this is actually for, let's see down there, that's for the start button and everything. But you can see how bare the back is. I mean, they even soldered the camera in up here as well, which is again different on obviously the 3DS and everything. You can see the microphone also soldered to the board. So they did a lot, obviously, to make it all just one piece. This is, I mean, this is everything here if you really look at it, right? We have the speaker even soldered in there, and everything just sits on one board. That's the easiest way to really make things cheap, is not have to play around with too many circuit boards or anything. And this is the only one. This is the only circuit board that they have. But everything's there. I believe this under here is where they have. Generally, they'll actually solder that down, yeah. So they just solder that down. But under here is usually where they'll have like chips and different things to cool it underneath there. But everything's under this heatsink here, and it's all soldered down. First, we have all of our buttons, D-pad. Actually, that's A and B D-pad over here. And then we have our start select. And then basically just a number of buttons here. There we go. I'm gonna lose that guy. A lot of buttons to lose, a lot of things to lose on this because they put it all in one shell. Power button, yes. Home button. And if you really need to clean your stuff, you have to get all the way down to this level. That's the thing. You have to take all that stuff out to clean these buttons. So that can be kind of a pain for some people if you have to. So let's work to, there's our sleep-wake switch. Let's work to get this screen out of here. Okay, because it is all one screen. I mean, seriously, look at this. Look how large this screen is here. And that's, the way they do it is they actually divide it up, which is really funny. And you guys will see that. They actually divide it up with tape and stuff like that. It's really funny how they did it to kind of mimic the aspect ratio of the 3DS. So here's how they do the touch screen. This is our screen here, by the way. It has tape and everything on it. I mean, you can kind of see that. Here's how they do the touch screen, because I did hear some people asking at times, forums and everything, how do they do the touch screen? They actually just have a digitizer in the front here. And that just actually runs and plugs into the motherboard there. And that's how they simulate touch, resistive screen, and everything. This is the same way on the 3DS, except or even DS and everything, except this resistive piece right here is actually seized to the screen itself through using like tape and everything. Like this technically has sticky tape here to keep it there, but from what I've always seen, whenever I take these apart, the resistive piece stays in the plastic molding for the shell. So this is one large screen right here. The whole thing is a screen, and they use these pieces of tape here to technically hold it, to technically like block off pieces of it. And that's how they kind of make it look like it's two screens with the correct aspect ratio here. Here it is without the tape. I just pulled the tape off. And you know, we still have this pesky metal shielding kind of in the way, don't we? Like it still has this metal shield here. Maybe we could try pulling that off. So the way they clip these screens together, there are actually like clips all the way around the edges, and you can actually peel these off. Generally, you don't really need to be doing this, but I was interested enough to see underneath of it, and I figure maybe we could even, if everything comes off correctly, we can even plug it in and kind of take a look at how it acts without this metal shielding. I thought that'd be fun to see while we're at it, and I'll put the metal shielding back on. Why not? As long as the screen doesn't break, which it shouldn't. I'm being very careful with it. So there we go, and once we get this off, I'm going to attempt to put the screen, plug the screen in, and we'll actually turn it on. Okay, so there's your one big screen that they use for this. Yep, one big screen. They use metal and some black tape to cover it all up, so it looks like it's two screens. And yeah, let's go ahead and plug this guy in. I'm honestly just curious what it looks like without any of that stuff on. So I put the back on just to maybe help me like hold it all together, because the battery, otherwise I have to hold underneath of it to kind of get it there. Let's see what happens. So there you go. Yeah, it's designed to pretty much only show certain pixels. As you can see, parts of it here are just disabled on the LCD. Man, you can see that too, can't you? And they probably just put the black tape, the metal and everything there, just to, I guess, just block all that off so you can't really see it in the cracks or edges or anything. But yeah, it's a screen that's essentially designed to not show on certain points of the whole LCD, but it is a full LCD. It's just designed to only show in certain parts. Remember we did that that Xbox Duke controller, and that actually was the full screen. Well, they don't display anything on these, so it's one whole screen. Probably the easiest way they could have saved money was, instead of doing two screens, they do just one, and those are kind of how they resorted. They had to resort to that to get the price down to the right point. But that's kind of how we are now in 2018, where you can buy this for 80 bucks. It comes with a game, and the library and stuff, it's pretty good. And what it comes with, it comes with a charger for 80 bucks. That's, in Nintendo's world, that's good. But yes, guys, I hope you liked this look at the 2DS. It was a very fun tech wave to do. I'm kind of taking it apart and looking at the screen, because this might be new to some people, and I think it's really neat to see it like this. But let me know what you guys think about this down below, about the 2DS or any of the other 3DS ones or anything, or if there's any of those you want me to take apart and check out internally and kind of talk about its internals. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys in the next video.